Our top spot on the list. In the last seconds of the game, a brawl breaks out between the basketball players from Kansas and Kansas State. Juan Gordon of Kansas State sprang in for a steal and went to the hoop for a game-winning layup. D'Souza pursued him, stopping the layup attempt from behind. When he was finished, he spoke with Gordon while standing over him, which led to pushing and fighting. Supporters who sat in the section behind the basket hastily departed in order to stay out of the altercation. Fight between the Philippines and Australia during the 2018 FIBA World Cup. In a qualifying match, an opponent from the Philippines knocked Australian player Chris Goulding to the ground. Daniel Kicker, his teammate, was motivated to punish the offending individual in the same way by the foul. Following each of these shoves, there were severe hits to both teams. The fight spread outside the court as Australian and Filipino continue their brawl, which then led to suspensions of members for ensuing destruction. When Toronto Blue Jays and Texas Rangers faced off in a match, there was a scuffle in the top of the 8th inning following a late slide by Jays outfielder Jose Bautista into Rangers second baseman Rune Oder. Following a benches-clearing brawl, Oder grabbed Bautista by the chest and hit him in the face, causing the outfielder's helmet and sunglasses to come off. Although Bautista was prevented from retaliating against Oder by others, that was a dirty move on Oder's part. Watch this battle between Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov, two UFC fighters. In addition to maintaining his spotless record, Khabib Nurmagomedov also managed to hold on to the UFC lightweight title. Following the match, there was a fight. After speaking with someone outside the cage, he threw himself over the cage and plunged into the crowd to face Dylan Danis, McGregor's friend. Meanwhile, Nurmagomedov's side entered the cage and engaged in combat with McGregor. Seattle Mariners versus Los Angeles Angels bench-clearing brawl once hit Jesse Winker on the hip after almost striking Julio Rodriguez on the head with a pitch earlier, which infuriated the Mariners even more. That caused scenes of rage, with an enraged Winker moving toward the Angels bench for a fight, and both benches emptying as a result. Ultimately, 8 different players and coaches who were involved in the altercation was suspended by the Major League Baseball. The Los Angeles Lakers and Detroit Pistons engage in a violent altercation involving LeBron James and Isaiah Stewart. James, who was battling Stewart as the shot was being taken, swung his arm and curled his fist to strike Stewart of the Pistons in the face. Stewart started the confrontation with his teammates while he appeared to have a serious cut of blood dripping off him, but teammates attempted to break it up before it got worse. This altercation between them led to suspension of games for them. In the 88th minute of their World Cup 2022 quarterfinal match, Argentina and the Netherlands got into a brawl over a loose ball. Ake and Paredes were fighting for it when the Argentine player slid in to take it, fouling the Dutch player in the process. Despite this, Paredes went on to kick the ball to the touchline to the bench players of the Netherlands. After Virgil van Dijk shoved Paredes, a brawl broke out and a few players were carded. AJ Green and Jalen Ramsey fight during a Jacksonville Jaguars versus Cincinnati Bengals game. As the halftime whistle approached and players were squabbling over possession while a scuffle between two players trying to break out by the side, as wide receiver AJ Green gave a slight shove to opponent Jalen Ramsey, but cornerback Ramsey pushed him to the ground. The exchange swiftly got physical as Green took Ramsey in a headlock, pulled him to the ground, and struck him repeatedly. Players from both sides piled into a heap as they raced to the altercation. Following the altercation, Green and Ramsey were both sent out. JoJo English and the Bulls versus Derek Harper and the Knicks, 1994 semifinal Game 3. Derek Harper of the Knicks and JoJo English of the Bulls argue at the three-point line and start yelling in each other's faces following a Horace Grant foul. Players from both teams rush to the center of the action as they immediately start fighting after pushing off of one another. As the players join the altercation, Harper throws English to the ground, and the Horde's momentum propels everyone into the front few rows of the audience. Gremio and International get heated in their Porto Alegre derby as 8 players are sent off. At the 88th minute of the game, there were nearly 15 minutes of unimaginable craziness. 2 players began pushing each other on the sidelines, and when the substitutes intervened, the fight broke out. 8 players, 3 from each side with some substitutes players were sent off. At one point, it appeared that Argentine referee Fernando Rapellini would have to call off play, but he maintained composure and the game continued with 16 players on the field for the closing minutes of a 0-0 tie. Following a fierce altercation between the New York Rangers and New Jersey Devils, 8 skaters were sent off. At the opening face-off of the game on Wednesday night, all 10 skaters on the rink got into a brawl between the New York Rangers and New Jersey Devils. The main event included a fight between Curtis McDermott of New Jersey and Matt Remp of the Rangers, while others started theirs. 2 seconds after the game started, 8 players, 4 from each team, were sent off for game misconduct as a result of the incident. For the remainder of the game, both sides had 4 fewer skaters as a result. 5 players are ejected following a fight between the Orlando Magic and Minnesota Timberwolves. At Friday night's Orlando Magic versus Minnesota Timberwolves game, there was a brawl and punches were exchanged. Fell players who initially started the fight were Magic center Mo Bamba and Minnesota guard Austin Rivers. Then it spread to include a few other players on the court. 5 players were removed from the game as a result of the disagreement and violence. Final spot on the list is, in a fiery Sunday top 14 encounter between Grenoble and Brive, a major brawl broke out just before halftime. The punch-up started after the Grenoble pack collapsed under a strong shove from Brive. Just before halftime, Brive prop Damien Jourdain's opposite number, Sona Tomalolo, dragged him off his feet during a scrum, setting off a Jourdain punch to his opponent. 3 players were red-carded following the altercation. In a thrilling game on Sunday, the Columbus River Dragons and Carolina Thunderbirds of the Federal Prospects Hockey League engaged in a heated matchup that included a chaotic brawl involving not only players but also coaches. Columbus coach Bichard initiated the altercation by attempting to break a stick over the glass towards Nick. The situation escalated further when player Nick Wright intervened after a challenge between the 2 coaches, leading to a further escalation of tensions. Both coaches were subsequently ejected from the game.
Oh boy! Jerome Bichard is over the bench and Andre Nitsch is throwing something at him, squirting water at him. Bichard is going to walk across the stanchion. Andre Nitsch.
In the latter part of the third quarter, as the Sixers held a commanding 80-64 lead, a scuffle broke out between Embiid and Harrell, resulting in them needing to be separated. Following a pass from Georges Niang, Embiid made contact with Harrell, causing him to fall to the ground. Harrell retaliated by fouling Embiid aggressively as he attempted a basket, leading to a physical confrontation where they grabbed each other's shoulders before being separated by their teammates.
Look like around the neck of Montrezl Harrell. They will definitely take a look at this.
These are the moments right here, JK, I want to go get a jersey.
Really?
Following the first day to 500 on Sunday, tensions escalated between Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin. Hamlin had pushed Logano into the wall during the race, causing damage to the number 22 car and leading to a spin-out due to a cut tire. After the race, Logano sought to address the incident with Hamlin. As Logano was walking away, he gave Hamlin a slight push, resulting in a brief altercation involving members of both teams. Our next spot on the list, Samuel Levesque versus Derek Parker. Fight. The showdown between Samuel Levesque and Derek Parker on May 3, 2022 had an altercation in a JCE hockey game. The fight broke out between the 2 players as they kept on exchanging punches for a while before being separated. Everton versus Liverpool, 1981. Brutal brawl. In a highly anticipated match between Everton and Liverpool, a brawl almost erupted on the field. After a Liverpool players almost injured the keeper with a slide towards him, Everton players went ahead to him to have an altercation with him. The intense rivalry between the 2 teams boiled over, leading to a series of violent clashes between players from both sides.
There is a quite unnecessary altercation there because Hartich had got that ball, claimed it.
Prairie View versus Jackson State brawl. During handshake lines, A chaotic scene unfolded during the post-game handshake lines between Prairie View and Jackson State as a series of altercations broke out between players from both teams. The tension escalated quickly, with both trying to engage in physical confrontations. The situation spiraled out of control as more players joined in the scuffle, resulting in a full-blown brawl between the two teams. Brawl erupts in football match. In a heated football match, a player executed a harsh sliding tackle on an opponent, causing him to fall. This aggressive move sparked a confrontation between teammates and players from the opposing team, resulting in a brawl breaking out on the field. The tackle was deemed excessive and unsportsmanlike, leading to a tense and physical altercation between the two sides. During a game between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Houston Rockets, a brawl erupted between Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo. The incident started when Paul poked Rondo in the face. This escalated into a physical altercation between the two players, with punches being thrown and both teams getting involved in the scuffle. The referees and officials had to step in to break up the fight and eject both players from the game. The incident received significant media attention and resulted in suspensions for both Paul and Rondo.
Now Paul, punches are thrown! Paul and Rondo throwing punches! Ingram comes in, he's throwing punches!
Emoni Bates got into a fracas during a state playoff game. The incident occurred when Bates was fouled hard by an opposing player, leading to a physical altercation between the two players. The situation escalated quickly, with both teams getting involved in the altercation before officials were able to intervene and restore order. Some players were ultimately ejected from the game in the SAF championship match between India and Pakistan. The altercation occurred when India manager Igor Stimac tried to take the football from a player wearing the Pakistani kit. Match officials had to step in to defuse the situation and resume the game. Stimac received a red card, while Shahzad Anwar, the Pakistan manager, was shown a yellow card by the officials.